Hi, this is James Cottrell speaking, and once again, welcome to my series of videos in talking about the spiritual realms and helping you find your way to see the power within and to develop yourself intuitively and to understand this world we live in. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about karma. Karma is one of the most confusing terms for us in the West that can possibly be given. Moses once said an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth in his scriptures or ruling, and I always thought as a youngster, what does that mean? An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Well, is that revenge, or is that something that if you something wrong, you maybe break somebody's finger, that your finger has to be broken by law? And I pondered that a long time, and I thought, no, this can't be. But as I became aware of the spiritual world and the understanding of karma, I'm going to talk a little bit about the misconceptions of it. Karma, basically, in the fundamentalist understanding of the same, is that if you do something to someone, then they're going to do that same thing back to you. In other words, if you slap somebody in the head, then karmically speaking, they're going to slap you back on the head, so that there's this spiritual balance. Or if you do something bad to someone, then they're entitled to do something bad to you. A little further up on the ladder on that one is that if you do something good or bad to someone, then they're going to do the same back to you, or somebody else will. In other words, you help somebody with maybe get gasoline when they're stopped at the side of the road, or you help somebody across the street. Well, that when you're in a difficult situation and you need gasoline from your car running out of gas, or you need somebody to help you cross the street, somebody's going to help you. Well, in a way, it's all within the realms of what give and take or balance is all about. But believe me, remember when you do something by error and you find out that, oh my God, that was bad, I should not have done that, you begin to regret. Regret wipes out the karmic debt. Okay. Now, if you see karma as a debt, you've not quite got it right yet. But by regretting, you've learned from that experience, that transgression or that difficulty that you've inflicted on someone else. Perhaps you were angry, perhaps you did something because you were jealous. Whatever you did and you regret it later, you've learned not to do it again. And therein lies the secret. Don't do it again because you know better. You know it's wrong. If you do it again because you enjoy it or because you want to, or you're trying to hold somebody down or put them under the thumb because you think you're right, you think you're the right way and what the way you believe is the only right way, well then karma will invoke a lesson, a circumstance, a situation where you will be on the exact opposite side of that question. If you're prejudiced, you will in the next life find yourself in the race and in the circumstances or environment of those people that you're prejudiced against. Not because it's punishment, but because you're ignorant of the fact of what's it like to be a person of a different race, relating to a person in the race that you are. So circumstances are changed around. Your karma is now that you've made some transgressions, mistakes, perhaps you believe that you're right, and now you're going to go on the opposite side of the question to experience the exact same circumstances, but from the different perspective. Doesn't that make sense that God would have this world that we're in, this classroom, this place that we have experiments and lessons to learn? Doesn't that make sense how it would work? Because at the end of those two lifetimes, you're going to have a middle of the road or third consciousness in which you'll understand both sides. Unless, of course, you loved the derogatory aspects and you loved this sin, if you will, to perpetuate. If you did, then, well, you're doomed to repeat it over and over and over and over until you get it right. Okay, before I talk a little bit about sin, I want to say, when you come into circumstances in your life, you have a duty or you have a responsibility. When you find that you're engaged in difficulties over and over again, the same circumstance, but a different group of people or at a different time, recognize that this is a karmic lesson. This is a most important lesson to you because it's happening over and over and over again. Now, to the uninitiated or to the ignorant, they would say, oh my God, I'm cursed. Why does God keep giving me this same problem? Or I've got really bad luck. I keep having the same bad problem in the same circumstance with the same people, or different people with the same circumstance. Okay. Recognize that something is happening to you over and over again, that this is a karmic lesson. It's a major lesson in your life. And if you try to handle it, make the attempt to write it, no matter what it is, you will find yourself relieved of that lesson. But here it is. How do you make the attempt to write it? Well, I've found in my life and in the lives of my clients and friends just like you, that usually when a situation comes up over and over and over again, the least desired way to solve that problem is the exact proper way to solve that problem and the karma. Let's say you're constantly bumping into people who are angry with you and you don't defend yourself. And they're angry with you for no particular reason. And you simply keep saying, I'm sorry, what can I do? What did I do wrong? And you're bewildered by this attitude towards you. I know I'm sounding simplistic, but the answer is simple as well. When it comes time and somebody does it to you again, exactly the same circumstances, unjustifiably, somebody's angry at you for something you didn't do, or they have the wrong idea about you, here's what you say. You go to them and say, excuse me, can you help me with a problem? Help me understand. Why is it I seem to be provoking you, or why is it you're angry with me? Okay, that's one way to handle it. There are several other ways, but for this example, it might be in your mind the least desirable way. You don't want to do this. You don't want to confront the person and ask them to help you find out what's wrong. You are, in your own mind, innocent, and you want to find out why they are treating you so poorly. But by going up to them and you're already afraid of them, they're already looking down their nose at you, they're already thinking disparaging thoughts about you, the last thing you want to do is go up and say, hey, what's the problem? That, if you are avoiding it, is exactly what you need to do. Right or wrong, whether you get a good answer or not, I can almost guarantee you, of course I can't because this question or this lesson is between you and God Almighty, but I can almost guarantee you that if you do this, the last thing you are avoiding to do, you don't want to do something to solve a problem, and you do it, the situation doesn't come back. And that's how you know you've met the karmic lesson. Whether you advanced or retarded doesn't matter. Whether you gain or lost doesn't matter. The fact is that you were willing to do that thing that you did not want to do. It was the least desirable thing, a thing you've been avoiding doing to solving the problem. You could be a landlord and having your tenants push you around, and the last thing you want to do is to take them to court and make them live up to the obligations that they owe you as a tenant in your building. And so you try everything you can to do to accommodate them, to placate them, and to let them off the hook. And all you're getting is problems after problems, exactly the same before and after. In other words, before you had this problem and now where you are. So again, you decide, I don't want to go to court, I don't want to take anybody to court. Oh my God, what am I going to do? And you can't sleep at night. But then you find that's exactly what you need to do, because there is no justice coming your way, and people are stealing from you, you're losing money, your building is losing its value. But all of a sudden you take up this challenge and you learn how to go to court, small claims court or whatever, or some other way, And what will happen is that you will find yourself entered up in what will be a point of, let's say, balance, and you'll never have this problem again. Okay? This is your duty. No one else can do this for you. Responsibility, you can, hand this off to a lawyer or a representative or something to help you in that way where the responsibility can be given to them and they'll take care of it. But when it comes down to you and your duty and there's no way out but the way you least want to do or the least like that you want to do, the thing you dread, that is the key to your karma and the lesson. Okay, now what is karma? Here it is. A long time ago, I found out that the word sin, because the Bible that I grew up with in Sunday school kept telling me that, you can't sin or you're going to go to hell. And I, as a child, didn't know what it meant. I tried to do my level best to be good all the time. But I kept hearing the words that I was born into sin. Didn't make sense. It still doesn't make sense. But here's what the word sin means. It's an old English archery term. And when you would take an arrow and you would let it loose from the bow, it would go all the way right to the target. And if it hit the target, you didn't sin. But if it went off to the side, above or below, it was off the mark. And by being off the mark, you sinned. This is the best understanding of karma that I've ever come across. And that is that if you're not on the mark, if you're sinning, you're off the mark. And karma, it pushes you back on the mark so that you're corrected. Repeat, corrected. Good karma and bad karma. Well, good karma is rewards from heaven above because you've done a lot of good things in a previous experience. This is true as well. Bad karma, for lack of a better term, is karma where you have not done such good things in another existence and now you're meeting those same circumstances in this life. Let's say you've been a judge in another lifetime and you've judged many people, perhaps harshly or inappropriately, or perhaps you've just judged them. I got to tell you the truth, the least desirable lifetimes that I've had would be as a judge, because my gosh, you're putting yourself right in the middle, aren't you? But in any event, what if now in this lifetime, all those people that you've prejudged or judged previously, now they show up in your life and they're suing you, and you're dealing with lawyers and judges all the time, and yet you're a welder. You don't know anything or want anything to do with law, but you seem to know intuitively what's right. You seem to know case law or case study in as much as what's right and what's not right to do. It's because you've had another lifetime, but you're making it right this time because all your what can we call them, all those petitioners to court are now appearing in front of you, and you have to make it right. You have to put it back in place so you get to understand what it's like on the other side. It's a humbling experience, as all lessons of karma are. Now, I've just used some very crude examples to give you some idea of what it's like. But remember, karma is a force, it's a system, it's a method to help you get back on track. Don't be afraid of your karma. Don't invoke bad karma by doing bad things, which means don't keep yourself going off the mark just because you want to. How can you tell who is a good person and if you're a good person? When your heart goes out to people, when you can feel what they feel and you can feel the compassion for what they're going through or what they're involved in, then you're a good person. It's when you don't feel that. Or when you feel something like they deserve it, and you feel some sort of pleasure at somebody else's misery. Now you're off the mark, and I can almost guarantee you, you're going to be in that person's shoes before the end of this lifetime. Because there's such a thing as, again, quote unquote, instant karma. That means you're now aware, and what I've told you just now has made you more aware, so you're in trouble. so to speak. You now know that if you do something bad and you do it because you willfully want to, you want to cause somebody else distress, then you're going to be in that person's situation before the end of your lifetime, if not before the end of the week. Sometimes it works really fast. But if you can find yourself in a situation where somebody's doing something harmful to you, or they're challenging you, or they're telling stories about you, you should go to them and say, pardon me, let's talk about this. Or if they're not amicable to do this, then you learn how to deal with it in a different way. Remember, you cannot go to someone else and say, hey, can you handle this for me, when it's your lesson. You can have other people take your responsibilities and handle them because it's almost a mechanical process. But when it's your duty, no one in the world, repeat, no one, can handle the circumstance, the difficulty that you're in except you. So, it's my duty. I'll get to it right away. That is how a properly balanced, spiritually aware person moves through the world. When it's your duty and there's something for you to do, you get to it right away. Procrastination just means misery, okay? So get it done. And whether you handle it correctly or not, don't worry about that. Do whatever is most difficult first, and then the next less, and the next less, and the next less difficult things, and your life will pick up speed. You're not intended to come into the world to suffer. No, you're not. The only reason you suffer is because you do not know. You're completely unaware of the spiritual rules, or the rules generated around that point. Okay, that's why you're in that situation or circumstance. When you know the law, and when you are balanced, and when you are putting limits on desires and attempting to stamp out corruption in your life and the lives around you, and you are attempting to worship God Almighty by being a good person, by being an example, your karma will be blessings in this lifetime, immediately. And if you have any rough edges around that you have to work on, then they will be the least most difficult to deal with. I can't guarantee it, but in my life, this is the way I found it. It's the truth. May God bless you, and may you have health, wealth, and peace of mind, and may you have opportunities come to you and people to bring you opportunities that will increase your prosperity, that you will have plenty, so that you can help the world. This is Douglas James Cottrell speaking. If you'd like to take my courses or to know more about my quantum meditation or quantum healing, please visit my website, douglasjamescottrell.com. Send me an email to info@douglasjamescottrell.com, or call the offices here in Canada, 905-393-5104. I'd love to hear from you. And don't forget, down there, there's that little thumbs up. Please click on it. God bless. Till next time. This is Douglas James Cottrell, wishing